Hello and welcome to the February 2024 edition of the Pre-Sale Pulse Trending Topic, bringing you the latest insights into the most talked about topics happening now in real estate. I'm Suzana Goncalves.
And I'm Brittany Reimer, and today we have a special guest joining us. She's our very own secret weapon of actionable intelligence. We've been holding back until the moment it really counts, and today is it. She's a real estate veteran and has been instrumental in producing highly strategized real estate programs throughout her tenure here at MLA Canada as EVP of Sales and Marketing, Ashley Judd.
Oof, quite the intro. Thank you for having me, Britt and Suze, the dynamic duo. It's great to be here. I'm really looking forward to unpacking this month's topic. Also very excited that Ryan finally listened and gave up his seat for a younger, fresher face.
Agreed. We definitely agree. Now, thanks for joining us. Today, we're talking about a topic that's essential to the overall housing market, but that doesn't get as much attention as pre-sale. We're talking, of course, about rental. Especially recently, rental has become very topical. Ashley, let's start with you. What's happening out there in the rental market?
Well, the headline is really all about supply and demand. At a high level, vacancy rates are just in restrictive territory at about 1% to 2% in most submarkets. And at those levels, what it really represents is natural rental friction. So people moving from one place to the other versus really true vacancies. And with that low vacancy, what we're seeing is a rise in overall average rental rates, which were up about 8% in 2023. And for brand new product, a massive 24%.
Yeah, so what's going on here? We saw tremendous rental growth in 2022 as well. What's really driving this growth?
Yeah, I mean, on the demand side, Suze, we are simply seeing more and more renters out there. About 34% of Canadian households are renting, and this segment is growing to double that rate of owners due to just pure affordability. Of course, when we add over 2 million people between immigration, study permits, work permits, and other groups, they all need to live somewhere. New immigrants, for example, tend to rent on average for 3 years before they actually look at a purchase decision. As they get settled in, we've seen a really big shift towards rental in our most recent launch of Colton, which is a purpose-built rental building in Langley. Big shift as well on that price appreciation, as you mentioned earlier, Ashley, even from when we leased up the Lincoln, which was late spring 2023, to today when we're leasing up the Colton.
Absolutely. And on the supply side, just to add to that, we have a huge problem that's been building for many years now, and that's really just the lack of purpose-built rental that's being constructed. So for example, in 2010, rental starts made up only about 7% of all the housing starts. There is good news in that we saw a concerted effort to increase rental starts with policies like CMHC Rental Housing Subsidiary. This incentivized our developers to start to build more rental. We also saw that rental starts jumped up about 38% in 2022. More recently, though, we've seen the government remove the 5% GST cost from purpose-built rental. And this is really going to help developers to bring more rental product to market, especially in times like we are now with the current interest rate environment being so high.
Yeah, now the lack of supply is what's also prompted a new policy to ban short-term rentals, as we know, to try and get those homes back onto the long-term rental market. Unfortunately, we're still playing a sort of a serious game of catch-up, right, with the lack of purpose-built rental. For so many years, we've just not had enough. And then especially when we realize that by the time you acquire, design, go through the city process and build it, it can be anywhere from 3 to 7 years before someone moves in, depending on the size and scale of the building. I will say that I don't think the answer is to obviously eliminate immigration or study and work permits, for example. Some caps are being put into place, which is probably a good thing, but we do need people coming into the country. And so that supply side really does need more attention because removing immigration is not going to be the right answer.
When you talk about products, Suze, and just how long it takes to get these rental buildings to fruition, I can't help but think, even with the programs we have in market for purpose-built rental, just getting it right on that onset is just so critical as well for development partners that are looking to enter into this space, right? You come out with some larger format for rent homes, you end up pushing up that affordability. Those prices end up being significantly higher than something more compact and more functional in nature. And so therefore, it was just a great reminder of like how important that product development is for keeping affordability at bay as well.
Yeah, getting it right, because you're not actually bringing it to market for 3-4 years. And so you have to design it properly at the outset.
So when we hear that rents are up substantially, and yet we have rental increase caps implemented, like How does that really work? Like, what is that really doing for anybody?
I know there's these rental rate increase caps that are in place to try to really limit the rental rate appreciation. However, we know people move, whether it's for work or maybe they need more space and they're relocating. And so at those times, the landlord can really reset their market pricing. We also know rental caps don't impact those homes. And when new homes are brought into the market, new purpose-built rental, these are more reflective of actual costs. And it creates a new base pricing for the market because construction prices are high, new base prices are just required to be higher.
Yeah, we're also seeing a trend towards more amenities, both in purpose-built rental as well as in new market towers. With so much old rental stock from the 60s and 70s, these new buildings can also command a really good premium. Interestingly, the fastest growing rental segment over the past decade has been those earning over $100,000. It doubled between 2011 and 2021. Now, these are people that want amenities and a high quality home and can afford the monthly payment, but either don't have the down payment to make ownership viable or have chosen to rent because they actually don't want to own, or they don't want the maintenance that comes with it, or perhaps they just want the flexibility. Now, as we look ahead to 2024, what can we expect in the rental market? What are you seeing out there for new trends?
Well, you look at those income numbers, and although people have enough earnings to afford some of the new lease-up product, I do think that there's just going to be an overall pressure on the rental market. You look at some of the older buildings, their rental rates are a bit more affordable for people to get into that. And so therefore, those that are actually not earning into that like higher income bracket are actually completely priced out of the rental market because you see some of those professionals still going for that older product. I do think the amenity offering, some of the new purpose-built rentals that have implemented, maybe cost savings, they've got the in-house gym, so they can give up their gym membership and they can actually save in other places, will be a real appealing offering for those professionals. But I still think there's going to be an incredible amount of pressure on the rental market over the next 12 to 24 months. We're seeing major absorption on our rental building, the Colton, leasing, anywhere between 20 to 25 homes in just a period of 3 weeks. The building itself is only 100 homes, and it's probably the only rental building in Langley, Abbotsford that'll be even existing in the next 12 months. So there is just a sheer undersupply of rental homes in this market right now.
I agree. I think in the long term, we don't really see a significant change coming, in part because of the long timelines we have also on purpose-built rental coming to market. With high interest rates, there's also just a tightening on access to capital for developers as well. It certainly doesn't make it easier in addition to the overall rising costs due to municipal fees, labor shortages, material costs, just the increasing step codes, et cetera, et cetera. Unfortunately, it's just hard to see a path that allows us to substantially increase rental supply large enough and fast enough to just not see this continued pressure, which means, likely rental rates will continue to increase and vacancies will continue to stay low.
Yeah, and in the near term, we may see some temporary relief when interest rates come off their peaks here. There's currently a large segment of, would-be homeowners that are currently renting while they wait for rates to adjust. So that could also be a reason why we're seeing an influx. When these buyers eventually enter back into the market, they might have sold their homes. There will be some release in those vacancy rates, but the structural problems are still there, and we're not going to see rents decline anytime soon, in my opinion.
Yeah, now on the product side, one thing we're seeing and hearing about, which I'm personally excited for, is what I would call active amenities. In a market tower, we create these beautiful common spaces, and then we turn it over to the strata where the spaces often get really underutilized. In rental, there's an exciting opportunity to create a greater sense of community. We're seeing far more programming happening, whether it's bringing in, fitness instructors or chefs, or just creating events in the buildings for various holidays for neighbors to connect and get to know each other. There's really something to be said for the power of community, and I think that's a trend we're going to see continue into 2024 that I think is actually really positive.
Yeah, and I think that will have to be that pull that I talked about earlier to get, those renters out of the older product and into those newer communities and pay a little bit more for what they're getting.
And there's just such a demand for it. Like everyone's asking for it and searching for it, and the buildings that have it, they're just going to lease up faster.
Well, I believe that wraps up our latest trending topic. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel, our newswire, our daily email newsletter, providing you with the latest real estate news. We want to stay informed and real estate intelligent. Last but not least, Ashley, thank you very much for joining us on the show. We're going to insist that you come back and join us. It was a blast.
Well, thank you guys so much for having me. It was a pleasure to be here and hope to see you soon.
Yeah, see you next month.